He was born in poverty, in a forgotten village along the Tigris. From obscurity, he rose, ruthless, calculating, until he ruled Iraq with absolute power. He led wars that scarred a generation, built monuments to his own legend, ruled through fear. But power built on fear cannot last. In the end, the dictator who once commanded millions was found hiding in the dark. This is the rise and fall of Saddam Hussein. Dark, grainy night footage of soldiers moving through a barren Iraqi landscape. Wind blows across desert silence. A flashlight beam cuts through a hole in the ground. December 13, 2003, near the town of Ad-Dar, Iraq. A man who once ruled with absolute fear is found hiding underground, disheveled, silent, powerless. This was the fall of Saddam Hussein, one of the most feared leaders of the 20th century. For decades, he stood at the center of war, oil, and terror. To some, he was a defender of Arab nationalism. To others, a ruthless dictator whose brutality reshaped the Middle East. How did a poor boy from a village in Iraq rise to command one of the most powerful armies in the region? And how did that power collapse so completely? Saddam Hussein was born in 1937 in Al-Alja, near Tikrit, during a time when Iraq was still under heavy British influence. His father disappeared before he was born. His childhood was marked by poverty and violence. The boy grew up hearing stories of humiliation, of foreign control, of lost Arab pride. That anger would shape his destiny. As a teenager, he joined the Arab nationalist movement, inspired by the Arab Socialist Ba'ath Party, a secular ideology built on unity, strength, and resistance to Western dominance. Violence became his language early. In 1959, Saddam participated in an assassination attempt against Iraq's leader, Abdel Karim Qasim. The attempt failed. Saddam fled. Exile hardened him. He escaped to Syria and later to Egypt, where he continued his political education while studying law. But books were never his true weapon. Power was. In exile, he learned patience. He learned secrecy. He learned that survival in politics required loyalty enforced by fear. When he eventually returned to Iraq, he was no longer just an angry young revolutionary. He was a man determined to climb, no matter the cost. In 1968, the Ba'ath Party seized control of Iraq, overthrowing the old order with swift precision. Saddam Hussein worked quietly behind the scenes, calculating, patient, waiting for the right moment. He mastered the art of surveillance, building a network of informants and intelligence agents that reached into every corner of Baghdad. Rivals were watched, conversations were recorded, allegiances were tested. Over the next decade, he moved methodically, consolidating power while projecting loyalty to his superiors. By 1979, the moment arrived. President Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr, once a mentor, was forced to resign. The transition was swift. In a single night, Saddam became the undisputed leader of Iraq. Days later, he summoned the party members to an emergency meeting. The air was thick with tension. Names were read aloud. Accusations of treason echoed through the hall. Those accused were taken away, silently, efficiently, never to be seen again. Fear became the currency of loyalty. Every whispered doubt, every hesitation was punished. In this way, Saddam transformed politics into a machine of control. The message was clear: absolute obedience or disappearance. By the end of that year, A nation had learned that power was no longer about leadership, it was about terror. No one dared to speak against him. Every corner of the state trembled under his gaze. And from that moment on, Saddam's name became synonymous with fear. In 1980, Saddam Hussein made a decision that would forever reshape the Middle East. He ordered the invasion of neighboring Iran, convinced that the country was weak after the upheaval of the Islamic Revolution. But he miscalculated. What began as a swift strike turned into a brutal, grinding conflict that lasted 8 years. Over 1 million lives were lost. Trenches scarred the landscape like echoes of World War I. Cities became targets for relentless missile strikes. Chemical weapons were deployed, first against Iranian troops and later, in a horrifying turn, against Iraqi Kurds. The town of Halabja became a chilling symbol of the war's cruelty, where thousands of civilians perished in a single day from gas attacks. The world watched in shock and condemnation, yet geopolitical alliances, oil politics, Cold War tensions limited the scope of international action. Iraq endured, but the cost was unimaginable. A generation traumatized, cities flattened, families shattered. The war was not just territorial, it was existential, a test of power, ideology, and the willingness to sacrifice countless lives in pursuit of dominance. And through it all, Saddam's hold on Iraq grew stronger, built on fear, war, and the illusion of invincibility. By the late 1980s, Saddam Hussein had transformed Iraq into a state defined by spectacle, loyalty, and fear. His image was everywhere, on walls of government buildings, in schools, even printed on currency. He presented himself not just as a leader, but as an heir to the ancient kings of Mesopotamia, linking his power to the glory of Babylon and the legacy of Nebuchadnezzar. Under his orders, portions of Babylon were partially reconstructed, bricks stamped with his name standing beside ancient inscriptions, a permanent mark of his ambition. Opposition was never tolerated. Those who resisted vanished without a trace, and mass graves later revealed the grim extent of his repression. Yet Iraq's oil wealth allowed for modernization amidst terror. Hospitals expanded, roads and bridges were built, and cities began to flourish in infrastructure. To supporters, Saddam brought order, national pride, and a sense of strength. To critics, he was a dictator whose gaze alone could decide life or death. The state became a theater of control, where propaganda, monumental architecture, and fear intertwined, a carefully staged spectacle of absolute authority. By this time, Saddam's Iraq was a country walking a knife edge, thriving on modernization, yet held hostage by intimidation.
August 2, 1990, Iraqi forces crossed the border and invaded Kuwait, shocking the world. Saddam Hussein claimed that Kuwait was stealing Iraqi oil through slant drilling, but the deeper motivation was debt. Iraq owed billions after the draining 8-year war with Iran. Confident in his strategy, he believed the world would tolerate yet another bold move. He was wrong. Within days, a coalition of nations led by the United States under President George H.W. Bush mobilized to respond. Operation Desert Storm began in 1991, unleashing relentless airstrikes that devastated Iraqi forces and infrastructure. Precision bombs flattened command centers, air defenses crumbled, and tanks were destroyed in wide desert plains. Despite the ferocity of the attack, Saddam remained in power, clinging to authority at home. Within Kuwait, civilians endured the chaos of occupation. Looting, fear, and displacement marked the human cost of his gamble. In Iraq, internal uprisings by Shiites in the south and Kurds in the north erupted, but Saddam crushed them with brutal force, demonstrating that his rule was maintained not through popularity, but through terror. The world had witnessed a military defeat, but Saddam's grip on Iraq was unbroken. His gamble had failed internationally, yet it reaffirmed the brutal efficiency with which he maintained control over his own nation.
The 1990s were a decade of hardship for Iraq. International sanctions, imposed after the invasion of Kuwait, brought the country to its knees. Food shortages became routine, medicine was scarce, hospitals struggled to function, and entire communities faced the crushing weight of economic collapse. The human cost was staggering. Estimates suggest that hundreds of thousands of Iraqi children died from malnutrition and disease during this period, victims of political maneuvering far beyond their control. Yet within Baghdad's palaces, Saddam's inner circle lived comfortably, shielded from the devastation they oversaw. The Oil for Food program offered a glimmer of relief, but allegations of corruption and mismanagement plagued the program, leaving the ordinary citizens to bear the brunt of scarcity. Meanwhile, the world remained uncertain about Iraq's weapons programs. Did Saddam still possess weapons of mass destruction? Intelligence agencies debated fiercely. That uncertainty, the fear, the ambiguity, became a powerful weapon in itself. A nation strangled by sanctions, a leader cloaked in secrecy, and the world watching nervously. The seeds of tension were sown, setting the stage for a conflict that would erupt with devastating consequences. March 2003. The United States, under President George W. Bush, launched a massive invasion of Iraq. The stated justification: the search for weapons of mass destruction, a threat that the world feared but would never materialize. Baghdad fell within weeks. Streets once filled with life became silent under the roar of tanks and bombardment. Government buildings crumbled, communication networks collapsed, and the symbol of Saddam's power, his statues and portraits, were toppled in dramatic public displays. Saddam Hussein vanished, slipping into the shadows of a country he had once ruled with absolute control. Months later, he was captured in a small hideout during Operation Red Dawn, a moment that stunned the world. No stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction were found. The justification for war had vanished alongside him. But his absence left a power vacuum. In the months and years that followed, Iraq descended into insurgency, sectarian violence, and instability. The consequences of the invasion were immediate, profound, and long-lasting. A nation left fractured, its people caught in the uncertainty of a new era.
Saddam Hussein, once the most feared man in the Middle East, was brought to trial for crimes against humanity. In the courtroom, he remained defiant, asserting his legitimacy, denying any wrongdoing, and refusing to show remorse for the lives lost under his rule. The trial was more than a legal proceeding. It was a symbol of accountability, a nation's attempt to confront decades of terror, and a stage upon which the world watched closely. On December 30, 2006, the sentence was carried out. Saddam Hussein was executed. The video of his death leaked, igniting shock and outrage across the globe. The once feared strongman, whose name had inspired fear from Baghdad to the deserts beyond, was gone. His death marked the end of an era, yet Iraq remained far from stable. In the months that followed, sectarian violence surged. Shiite and Sunni communities clashed as old grievances resurfaced. Power shifted between rival factions, and chaos expanded into a fragile nation struggling to rebuild. The echoes of his rule did not vanish with his death. The fear, the repression, and the scars of war continued to shape the lives of ordinary Iraqis.
Saddam Hussein was gone, but the consequences of his decades in power would reverberate across Iraq for generations to come. Who was Saddam Hussein? A tyrant? A nationalist? A survivor forged by violence and unyielding ambition? His story is a stark lesson in the nature of power, that absolute authority can command a nation, yet never guarantee permanence. From a boy in a small village near Tikrit, he rose through calculation, fear, and strategy to dominate Iraq. He survived wars, outmaneuvered enemies, and even defied superpowers. But rule through fear is fragile. Statues may fall, armies may retreat, and time eventually exposes the limits of force. Today, Iraq bears the weight of his decisions. Cities rebuild, families strive for normalcy, and a new generation grows amidst the ruins of past conflicts. History does not remember leaders simply for their strength, or their victories, or their armies. It remembers the consequences they leave behind, the lives affected, the nations reshaped, the lessons for the future. Saddam Hussein's legacy is a cautionary tale. Power without accountability breeds destruction. Even the most feared ruler can fall into darkness alone, leaving behind a nation to reckon with the cost